Good morning, Madam Ambassador. Thank you so much for having us today. I believe this is a very important day for Finland today because the new government is being appointed. So a very special thanks for taking the time to having us on this special day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure, really.
So I would like to start this interview for the subject, the situation that has put Finland in the media center, which is joining NATO. Finland has recently joined NATO. Finland is the 31st country to join NATO. And I would like to know your opinion of what can be expected of Finland and NATO after this historical event.
Thank you very much. And indeed, it was a very historic decision. And now it will be our first summit as a full member of NATO very soon. Well, I think that what can be expected from Finland as a member country. We are a country with a strong and credible national defense. We have always kept our defense at a strong level, and this is something we will continue to do. We feel a strong responsibility for sort of securing our own defense, but also, of course, then to participate in all of NATO's activities and to take part in the collective security. So this is and what we also bring. Some issues perhaps are the strong comprehensive security concept. This is something that is very much embedded in our society. The comprehensive security sort of goes through all levels of society, very down to individuals. It's an issue that even people they have volunteered to take these voluntary national defense courses and so forth, and all the sort of public institutions, but also private institutions are involved in this thinking and activities. Basically to ensure that we have a resilient society, we are ready for different kinds of crisis situations and so forth. And then, of course, one thing is also that the Finland in general is a high-tech nation with very advanced knowledge and innovations in digital technology and so forth. So this is, of course, has very important defense dimensions as well. So everything to do with cybersecurity, with hybrid threats. Things like this, we are glad to bring to the table.
Nevertheless, the public opinion about joining NATO, that was a very low defense of joining NATO up until a few months ago, for the reasons we all know, has suddenly grown to a vast majority of Finns deciding that it was time to join NATO. Do you think that the catalyst for that was what happened the moment Russia invaded Ukraine, or was it something that Finland was mature enough to do?
It was definitely triggered by the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. You could also the change in the public opinion, and you could already see the change starting, months before, when we realized that the security situation in our neighborhood in Europe was changing to the worse. So it started to grow, but then there was a clear change in opinion, because it was still something totally unexpected, and not something that we could think about, that there would be a war of aggression in Europe. So this is definitely it was a decisive sort of a factor.
But was it a surprise for the public, but not so much for the politicians and the experts in defense? Do you think?
The war, you mean?
The war.
I think it was a shock and sort of a very tragic surprise. I think, I mean, everybody was of course prepared, but it was the same as in other parts of the world. There was a lot of speculation, and there were a lot of signs that pointed to the probability of war of aggression started. But still, I think that many people wanted to take it that it can't, things like that can't happen. So yeah.
When you say about the neighborhood that was changing very fast and very dramatically, you mean the neighborhood? You mean the border that Finland has with Russia, which is more than 1,000 kilometers, or something more bigger than that?
Bigger than that, yes, definitely. It was perhaps, I basically meant like a Europe, and the war of war of aggression against Ukraine.
And by geographical reasons, Finland has like a center stage for the conflict, right? Because of the geography your country has. Has joined Finland in the request of joining NATO. It was a parallel request. Unfortunately, Sweden has yet to be accepted in NATO because they are waiting for the ratification of the Turkish and the Hungarian government in parliament. How do you think that will affect Finland's presence in NATO for the time being? But also, how do you feel about the schedule? Do you believe that Sweden will be able to join NATO until the end of 2023?
I definitely hope so, and much quicker than that. This is our priority number one for Finland. It was our first act as a NATO member. When we handed over our own accession papers, we also handed over to the Secretary General of NATO Finland's sort of approval of Sweden's accession as well. It's our president said when we joined that Finland's membership will not be complete without Sweden, and this is This is our high priority right now, and it's a high priority for many other partners as well. We are extremely close partners with Sweden, both politically and when it comes to defense and security policy cooperation.
Do you think that joining NATO, or the process of joining NATO, not at exactly the same time, but very close, will reinforce the bonds between Finland and Sweden much more than on the defense level, politically and economically, and even socially?
Well, yes. I mean, we have, with our long joint history with Sweden, we have been traditionally very close partners in all these fields. But I do believe that because we have seen this further deepening of our cooperation in defense policy, and which will of course then be for even deeper when we have the cooperation as both of us as member states. I think that deepening in one sector tends to also then deepen in other sectors as well. But as I said, we are already closest partners. So
it is unfortunate that it took a war of aggression to finally reinforce NATO. But do you think it is possible that NATO will keep reinforcing itself to other areas, to other countries? I mean, was the joining of Finland and the potential and hopeful joining of Sweden like an example for other countries that are still balancing the decision?
Well, I mean, the NATO's policy of open doors, remains, and I think that this is this is a very important principle, and I think that it will definitely remain. And it's, I mean, like for Finland and Sweden, it's for all other nations. It's extremely important that every nation can make their own decisions on their own security and defense policy, whether to join or whether to apply to join or not. So,
and how is Finland seeing its present relationship with Russia? Finland shares a border, an extensive border, and historical, social, ethnical bonds with Russia. And how do you think that relationship can develop in the short term. And I'm saying short term because medium term and long term, it's a very hard exercise to do. But in the present moment, joining NATO made Finland different in the eyes of Russia, I believe. How do you think that will affect the relationship between both countries that don't have an open conflict and share so much, starting with geography and ending in history and social and ethnicity also? How do you think it can work in the following months?
Well, I mean, the issue that dramatically changed the relations between Finland and Russia was, of course, Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. I mean, that of course changed the relations dramatically in all respects, and and as part of as a member state of the European Union, we have of course fully supported all the time strong sanctions and all the measures to try to change the behavior and to stop the war of aggression. This is, I mean, that's the key to all. Definitely, you know, Russia, sort of the ball is in their court. They have to stop the war of aggression against Ukraine before the relations can have any sort of any improvement. So of course, with the long border and so there is some level of cooperation on practical issues and so forth. But of course, it's very much to the minimum, and it's impossible to.
As we say in tennis, the ball is on their court, right?
Yes, yes, they have to stop the war of aggression, and then.
And in your opinion, Madam Ambassador, as far as you can share, do you believe that this war will have a short finish, or do you think it's going to last a lot more? Well, one day would be too much, but there are this week news that some analysts say that the war will probably linger for too long. How, in your opinion, do you share that vision, or do you think there is a chance that the war will end shorter than some analysts are saying?
Well, I think that in dramatic, tragic situations like that is still important to have hope. I mean, and to hope for the best. But I mean, I really can't assess how long it will last. But only to underline that it's important to try to keep hope for a quick end of the war.
On the other hand, Finland has shown a lot of commitment in helping the Ukraine, and it has recently approved the 16th package of relief to the Ukraine, or to reinforce defense of this country. Do you believe that Finland will go on, will continue with this kind of strategic decisions, reinforced now with the presence inside NATO?
Absolutely. This is, I mean, we have a new government now, but these are, I mean, the sort of the basic lines of our foreign policy stay the same, and also the key priorities, and supporting Ukraine is a top priority, absolutely, and continues to be so.
So you don't believe with the change of the government that will change?
No, absolutely not.
Because it is a national design, right? It's something that the country is really invested in much more than governments. So talking about governments, today a very important day. In this exact moment, the government or the president of Finland is talking with the leaders of the parties that will hopefully and very potentially form the new government. This is a coalition. I know that Finland has a long and rich history of government coalitions, but some analysts consider this government the most on the political spectrum, the most to the right government in the last decades. Not knowing enough about the Finnish political situation, what can be expected of this new government? especially when it comes to internal reforms, when it comes to positioning on the situation of immigration and on the international scene. It seems like Finland is going through a lot in 2023, culminating on this government that has a composition that it's still making some people wonder. What's your opinion?
Well, as you said, we have a very long tradition of coalition governments, and in this government we have 4 parties. In the previous one we had 5 parties, and some years back we had 6 parties, and so forth. So so one of the sort of the typical features of Finnish politics is that after the election, then the parties that are likely to form a coalition, they use a lot of time in preparing the government program. So the and as happened this time as well. And the government program is about more than 200 pages. So this means that because the parties come from different backgrounds, they have different priorities and so forth. They wanted to make sure that they do big part of the work at the beginning, trying to find a consensus on the most the issues that divide perhaps the most and that are the most important things. Of the government program, I think one of the very sort of important issues is economy, and of course in the past years with all the crises, we also had to take loan, and now the government, the new government wants to sort of cut some expenses and so forth. So this is it's a very much focusing on the economy and so there will be a number of reforms in that respect. Also in the labor market, but of course then they will. This is a government program. They have to be discussed in the parliament and with the labor market parties and so forth. But reforms can be expected there as well. And when it comes to migration, it was there was a consensus on that Finland also needs. We really need people to come to Finland. We have an aging population and so forth. So it's extremely important to have the migrants also to Finland to come to work and so forth. But at the same time, there were some restrictions to immigration policies as well, and to sort of people arriving on humanitarian grounds and so forth. So that I see as a significant change as well.
I believe that in your professional and personal careers, the questions of the refugees are very close to your heart, personally and professionally. Do you fear that the new government or the new political situation in Finland will change the opportunities for people that search Finland as refugees and as a political refuge country? Do you believe the new government has a chance of changing all of that? Because Finland is known for being a very welcoming country, especially when you have a conflict with so many million refugees so close to your borders. Do you fear that can change?
Well, of course, I mean, the starting point in our government program as well, and when it comes to sort of also to foreign policy, is that it's based on human rights and rule of law and democracy and so forth, and of course all the sort of international commitments that we have taken will remain. I mean, this is that's the starting point. So of course. And reinforced with this commitment to human rights and so forth. There will be in the government program there is reference to sort of reducing some of them like resettlement. I think the resettlement quota, but of course sort of the right to seek asylum that will not that will not be effective because that's a very strong commitment of Finland in many international conventions, and so that of course is, and I think that we are hosting lots of course Ukrainian refugees, and this will also continue. But
talking about the international vision of Finland, Finland is leading for the last 6 years the list of the happiest countries in the world, and it's also the first country on the index of sustainable development, and I believe the 11th on the index of human development of the United Nations. What's the secret?
I guess, well, I'm glad that you put them together, because I think that they are all very much linked. One, when for the happiness, happiness results, I think that one of the key issues is that the society is built in such a way that it allows people to be happy and to have a sort of a life that can be a good life, and there are many sort of reasons or explanations to this, and one is sort of the trust in society, which is extremely important, sort of the trust that sort of a society helps those in need, and that people are not left alone, and then that one can trust the authorities and politicians and so forth. Of course, there it's not 100%. I mean, for sure, but sort of quite a strong level of that trust, and then environment, sort of the clean environment that has that is also a very very important factor in all this. We have I think Helsinki has this sort of the cleanest air in a city in the world, and sort of the nature relationship of Finns is very close. We have lakes and forests and seashore, everywhere, and people have easy access to nature, and it's respected, and so forth. And then sort of a sharing, doing things together. That's also like something very, very important, that people who are living in the same neighborhood, they get together twice a year and clean up the pathways and cut the trees and things like that. So that's kind of a long tradition.
So it is a sense of community that
so,
also helps to be happier. So people say that in Finland, people don't mind paying lots of taxes because they are sure that those taxes will be used to make them happier. Is it something that you can agree on?
Yes, to a large degree, absolutely, yeah. So the people do see, the connection of high taxes and then health services, education, and so forth. And but then, of course, I mean, then it's extremely important to keep those services at the level that are decent and so forth. And there, with the demographic changes and so forth, and with the crisis on the background, we have made some reforms that will hopefully ensure make sure that. That the high level will continue as well. But it's a constant work. I mean, absolutely. It goes up and down. So it's really a constant work to keep up sort of the good level of social security, the good level of health, and to adjust those systems all the time to the changing needs in the society. And the same goes for education. I mean, that's also extremely important. Not to just to follow sort of the good routines that we've had, because the society changes and the needs for education, needs of pupils change all the time. So this is sort of the willingness to reflection and to reform things that have worked, but perhaps don't work anymore, or we think that won't work for the future. That's yeah.
Is it the combination between a very strong welfare state and the excellence of education and the ability of evolving with the challenges? Do you believe the combination that makes Finland so successful and so happy, recognized all over the world?
I'm sure, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think that, I mean, and the sort of the when it comes to education, I think one of the key issues in Finland is that there's been for decades such a strong emphasis on sort of equal access to high quality education, that we try to avoid sort of big gaps between the levels of the schools. Of course they are. I mean, not it's impossible to keep exactly the same level, but to really to pay attention to that nothing about one's background should have anything to do with the level of education that one gets. So no matter where you live, or the income level of your family, or anything like that. So.
And do you believe that this kind of almost a philosophical approach to education can be replicated around the world?
Absolutely, yes. I think, yeah. And this is one of the key messages, when there's been a lot of interest towards the Finnish education the past 20 years or so. And I think that this has been one of the key messages, is the equality, the equal opportunities. It's important for the pupils, but it's important for the whole society. And the development of the whole society, and the sort of the competitiveness of the society. Yeah, that's what's absolutely required, because that was in Finland. That was, I mean, the basic. The starting point for this thinking was the realization that human beings, the people, are our most important asset. That this is something that we have to develop that, and we can't afford to leave people behind.
You said that there are challenges, demographic challenges, economical, social challenges, and as much as education, the welfare state needs to evolve. How do you think that evolution has to happen or can happen in the next years?
Well, I think sort of when it comes to social security and health system, that is under a big there are big sort of a concrete reforms that will be undertaken in the coming years. There were the big picture, the big lines have been agreed upon, but now it's now sort of the more concrete changes have to happen by.
And can you share with us the big lines that were established? Because this is like a network for future development. What were the big lines that Finland found that are needed for the welfare state and for the education and social security to keep Finland on the top like it is today?
Well, perhaps when it comes to education, there has been in the past years a lot of sort of analysis being done about the future skills that will be needed, because everybody has realized that the sort of the skills required in the future are can be very, very different from what they are today, and nobody can really tell about that. So there's been a lot of emphasis in sort of on cultivating those skills that for sure most probably will be needed, like creativity and problem solving, and sort of a holistic ability to take a holistic look at problems, and for instance through this like a phenomenon-based approach, which has not replaced the traditional classes at all, but being brought in addition, so that pupils already from fairly early age they take a look at, like for instance on like effect on climate change on our own neighborhood, then that you look into it from different all the different angles, or something in the society. You look at it from the historical point of view, and so forth. And also to analyze and to be open about the new problems. There's been a huge challenges, I think, because of the new technology. I mean, it has brought a lot to the education. It has, of course, added, great new opportunities of learning and so forth. But at the same time, same problems in Finland as in everywhere else. That sort of a reading, of traditional books that has gone down, and attention span and all that. So it's so we are trying to sort of approach those. And there's been, in some respects, this has perhaps affected boys more than girls. So it's very important then to find measures also specified. Okay, let's see who these affects most, and
an holistic approach is something that artificial intelligence can never do, or we hope it can never do.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
If we bet on what makes us humans, we'd probably be okay.
Exactly, like empathy. All these kinds of issues. Yeah.
When it comes to the welfare state, demography has a great role, and demography is changing all over Europe. Finland is no exception, I believe. Do you believe that the welfare state and what also connects the welfare state with the healthcare programs will have to change dramatically in the next couple of decades?
Well, one thing that we are now focusing very much in Finland is to increase the sort of the amount of people in employment. So both we try to attract more people to come to work to Finland, but also to encourage people who are not working at the moment, who are unemployed, or to make work more beneficial, so that so this is I think one of the big issues in the new government program. Try to find incentives to ensure higher level of employment, and and also to try to find out, like we have a lot of open sort of jobs, and then but at the same time unemployment. So why doesn't this match? So this is one of the keys. I mean, and this would help, of course, then to ensuring the financing of the welfare state.
Let's talk about something else. Finland joined the European Union in 1995. In your perspective, what can be said about this road that we've taken together since 1995, and what can be expected in the presence of Finland in the European Union?
Well, I think our membership in the European Union is really, part of our the national DNA these days, and it's been extremely important for Finland in many different respects. It was extremely important, sort of the politically and also security policy considerations were very important when we decided to join, in addition to the economic aspects. We are a small nation dependent on export, so being part of the internal market is of course of fundamental importance to us, but also sort of to be part of our own sort of a political sort of a value family. I think it's been an extremely important issue. We sort of the values of the European Union are very much sort of values of Finland as well. So it's a place where we definitely belong.
It's natural for Finland to be part of the European Union.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is Finland the vanguard of technology in Europe?
Yes, I would say in many respects. I would definitely say so. It's And we have actually good examples of that here in Portugal as well. Nokia is a very big has a very big presence in Portugal with about 3,000 employees, and also they opened last year, at the end of last year, 5G 6G research and development center here in just a few kilometers from here. So they're very much in the front line of the sort of technological revolutions when it comes to artificial intelligence and everything that has to that enables in the world. So both connecting, connecting everything now, not only people like they did it with the phones, but so it's and then many other of course technological companies also we have come to Portugal as well, opened an office here, IT companies, and then we have one of the sort of the best supercomputers in Finland, and high level of the space technology and so forth. So very much in the front line all the time.
Absolutely. So just putting it geographically, Portugal and Finland on the extreme opposites in Europe, right? Geographically.
Yeah.
So how can two countries that sure belong to two big blocs together, European Union and NATO, but are so further apart when it comes to space and to geography, how can those countries grow their bonds together, and how do you evaluate the present relationship between both countries?
Well, I think it's excellent. We have very, very good relations. We are very like-minded countries in many respects. Although we are geographically at the sort of opposite sort of corners of Europe, but even that I think is kind of it is an issue that combines us. That we look both into Europe from a similar angle from the corners. So that is already an issue that sort of brings closeness to that position. But But as I said, like-minded countries in many respects. We both are strong supporters of strong European Union, very much in the front line of green transition. Both countries have invested and are going to invest heavily in for instance in green energy, are kind of going through a ever energy revolution. Both countries will be producing a lot of green energy, more and more all the time. So that is also something that connects us. We are very like-minded in that respect, and we have been, both of us have been like pushing for the ambitious the climate targets both within the European Union, but then also elsewhere. Both of our countries are strong supporters of the multilateral system, of the rules-based international order. We are fairly similar in size, and for both a functioning rules-based international order is extremely important. So there are lots of issues that are connecting us, and then it's very good to see where we can join hands and cooperate, and sort of what we would very much like to see as well is to sort of a Finnish and Portuguese companies more and more joining their hands, co-creating and sort of going creating together. So this is something we are working together.
I find it very interesting, your concept of two countries looking at Europe from not the same perspective, but parallel perspectives.
Exactly.
One from the south, one from the north, one from the Atlantic, the other one from the other side of the Atlantic. But very similar in size, very similar in the search for new developments technologically and environmentally. So you can say, or we can say, that Portugal and Finland have a lot more than join them. then that separates them. Don't you think?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
So I believe that you are going to give a diploma of climatic honor, if I'm not mistaken, to recognize and to thank the work developed by Lidera, which is a Portuguese organization that works in the search of new answers to climate questions. Is it climate, technology, European presence, NATO presence, the main lines of connection between Portugal and Finland?
I think that's that's a very very good way of putting it. Yes, and with this climate honor, I think that it's the first climate honor award that Finland is giving is to Portuguese organization Lidera. So we're very happy. We're very happy about that, and we're very happy that that our colleagues in Finland recognized also that this Portugal would be a very good country to start this. And because because the way Lidera works, we hope that will also generate sort of a people to people, young person to young person cooperation between our countries.
And that this award can be like a beam of attention to these questions.
Absolutely, yeah.
Madam Ambassador, thank you so much for having us today. I hope that Finland and Portugal can reinforce their bonds, and I wish you a very, very pleasant stay in Portugal in your role of ambassador. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure. Thank you very much.